What's up, YouTube? Fantard here to talk about Bungou Stray Dogs episode review. Now, in this episode, wow, that ending, fuck, that got me right there. But let's start off with the characters of this episode. Daizai, Bungou, and Oda have so far been the most interesting characters possibly of this whole series. At least in my opinion, I am really interested in these characters, especially we still have the mysteriousness of Daizai and why he left the Port Mafia. We have Bungou, who is apparently a double agent or a triple agent. You know, he's a triple agent. And then we have Oda, who for some reason has this self-righteous rule to not kill, but yet why the fuck is he in the Port Mafia? With this episode, you start off with freaking Oda talking to some guy. They only show his silhouette, and he's reading certain books, and he tells him, oh, you should write the rest of this book because the rest of the series is garbage after part 1 into part 2. And you go back, you should write out this book. And that's all they cut off the rest of it, and it just shows Oda, and like they show him waking up from a dream apparently. Now, we know more about Oda now, apparently, that he really likes to write and he likes books and literature, but I always wondered, if you don't like killing people, then why are you in the Port Mafia, in a business that revolves around people going to war against other, mobsters or other enemies where it might involve killing someone? I'm really curious about his past. It's obvious to me that he had done something or wronged someone else in the past, and it led him to being a type of person who never wants to kill. He kind of reminds me of Kenshin, that samurai who uses the reverse blade sword, who doesn't want to kill because of how many people has taken, how many lives he has taken in the past. That's who he reminds me of, and I hope we get more insight on Oda because he is such an interesting character to me, just because he goes by a certain rules, and he also likes literature and book and writing. He just seems like the wrong person for this job, and I want to see if he was a different person before he had got that rule of not ever wanting to kill again. Oda's not the only character who I think is very interesting. Bungou. So we have another bar scene, which I didn't think we were going to get another one, because in the other episode, they had said that was their last moment of them drinking together, because then one of them died. But I guess there was another bar scene. I guess they're talking about them having a photo taken together. I'm not exactly sure. But Bungou, he is a triple agent, I'm sorry. He was a mole for the Port Mafia to get into Mimic, but he's also a mole for the agency of special gifted people. For them, he was a mole. He got into the Port Mafia, and he's telling them, their enemies, their own secrets. So he's a mole within a mole, Inception mole basically. And they let him go. They don't kill him because it seems to me they had grown really attached to them, and they also wanted some answers from him. The fact that he was inside the agency of the Mimic company, and he tells them they're basically men who want to die like righteously, or like die in the acts of war, being killed by their enemies. Oda, he fucking went against the leader of the Mimic group before this scene happened, and that's where we find out what does the leader want to accomplish. He's a war veteran, or I think that they're all veterans who wish to be killed by their own enemies in the acts of war, and they want to be killed. And they want to use that by fighting against the Port Mafia. But this guy who is the leader of the Mimic group, his name is Jeed, and he also has the same power as Oda. He can see 5 seconds into the future. So him and Oda, they're fighting against each other, and it's a fucking stalemate. And to me, it's like really interesting, these guys trying to figure each other out, how their powers work. There are a couple of rewinds within Oda's power of them him finding a way to avoid him being shot. And these characters, it's so interesting because it seems to me they understand their power the most. They're able to connect, and Oda, who doesn't want to die, he wants to live doing right, but this guy who does want to die, they're complete opposites, and they have a clash of ideals. Oda, he goes into deep detail of his past and tells him that he just wants to go back to writing and literature one day once he's done with the Port Mafia. And Jeed, you could tell that he might sympathize with this character. I'm really interested in his backstory. Although I won't lie and say that I wasn't a little disappointed on what Jeed wanted or what the Mimic wants. Apparently they just want to die heroically, or they want to die in a spectacular fashion. And I was like, okay, I guess. Why not just do a mass commit suicide? But I guess that wouldn't be like a spectacular fashion. I was expecting a little more from Mimic, and I think we will get more from Mimic. I just was like, the surface of it, all the layer of what they want, I think it's just like, okay, that's it. But I think we're going to get more, they're going to go deeper into Jeet's backstory and on why he wants to commit suicide and why he wants to die, or why he wants to die heroically or die in a spectacular fashion. I can't wait to see more of Mimic. Now, with that said, we get to the end of this episode, and here's what I'm wondering here. You have a scene where his kids, Oda's kids, are the orphans that he took care of. They've been kidnapped and they're put into a van, and he tries to go out and saves them, and then it explodes. And Oda just goes completely nuts. He's crying, he's hysterical, he's screaming to the top of his lungs. And it was such a sad moment too, because right before the van exploded, you see the kids opening the curtain, and they're banging on the window, and they have tears in their eyes, and it just hit me right there, man. I was like, that is fucked up. Who the fuck did that? Now, was it Mimic? Because if Mimic did that, that's just messed the fuck up. What the hell? If you want to die in a spectacular fashion while challenging the Port Mafia, why do you have to involve children? And it just makes me really upset, because if Jeet is the leader of this group and he's the one behind this, I think that kind of takes away from his character. But I have a feeling it probably wasn't Jeet. I don't know who it was. Maybe the agency. But I think it's too obvious that it would be Mimic who's behind this, because it doesn't seem like Mimic would do that. I mean, so far in these episodes, we've seen them attacking the Port Mafia, the policemen. I've seen them do robberies, but I've never seen them do acts of terrorism against children, domestic terrorism. And I don't think it's obvious. I think it's so obvious that Mimic is behind this. But that's just horrible. And I'm curious how this is gonna affect Oda Sagan. Like, is he gonna go completely nuts and try to go back to his old ways of possibly killing someone, if that is his old ways in the first place? I'm really curious. I want the Bungou. I don't think Bungou would be behind it, but man, that ending really got me. I can't wait for the next episode, because that was just fucked up. As far as this episode goes, really love this episode, man. 4.5 out of 5 stars, man. These two characters, this whole flashback is just awesome. I'm really liking these guys. Bungou, Daizai, Oda, G2. We'll see how his character turns out. He's got some major potential there. But that's it for me, guys, in this review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Fantart out.